Video modeling, a study of the use of video modeling to increase the acquisition of daily living skills in students with autism spectrum disorders. This research was done by Amanda Keene. Okay, so really fast before we begin, I just want to kind of give you a brief overview of what video modeling is. It is when you teach a skill through a video. So it's basically exactly what it says. There are different types of video modeling, and in this research I used adult model video modeling, where I was actually the model in the video and the students watched me perform the tasks. There are a lot of different types, and I'm happy to give anybody more information on video modeling. It's something I'm very passionate about. So if you have any questions, please ask. But that's just a quick overview. So the abstract for this research is listed below, and it says, this action research study investigated the effects of video modeling on student achievement when learning daily living skills in comparison to other interventions. The participants were 8 students from 7 years to 20 years of age with autism spectrum disorders. All students received special education services for their disability. Those students were all from the same urban school district outside of the Kansas City, Missouri metropolitan area. The students received instruction by using video modeling and in vivo instruction as interventions to teach new daily living skills. The study found that students participating in video modeling acquired daily living skills at a faster and higher rate than students participating in vivo instruction. And really fast also, in vivo instruction is with a human model. So when I am standing directly in front of you and I show you how to do something and then I have you do it, that is in vivo. Anything that we are doing where we are teaching a student, that's going to be in vivo if you personally are doing it. And then daily living skills, for those who don't know, it's kind of popular in the world of special education, but they are those skills that we need to become independent and to be successful in life. So that's going to be your cleaning, your eating, your cooking, your self-care, laundry, sweeping. And in this study, we specifically looked at folding laundry, making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and making chicken nuggets. And those were the examples that we used for this study. Okay, so let's look at the purpose statement and the research questions. Purpose statement is, the purpose of this study is to increase the daily living skills of students with autism spectrum disorders through video modeling. I predict that with the use of video modeling, students with ASD will increase their acquisition of daily living skills faster than peers not utilizing video modeling. And then the research questions. So I used these questions to help guide my data and to guide my research. Does the instructional strategy of video modeling have a positive impact on the acquisition of daily living skills in students with ASD? And does video modeling show more potential for making a positive impact on the learning of individuals with ASD when compared to other interventions? And like we said before, this specific other intervention that we used in this research was the in vivo instruction. So this is a chart of my participants that I used. As you can see, my youngest was 7 and my oldest was 20.5. So 20 years, 5 months. They were all males, which is not a shock when you look at the statistics for autism spectrum disorders. The majority of students with ASD are males. And I did have a mix of students that were African American and Caucasian, and they are varying in severity. From resource classrooms to a full day self-contained in a public separate school. So, and it also kind of lists below who received the in vivo instruction and who received the video modeling, just so you can see. And student 1 and 2 were a pair, 3 and 4 were a pair, 5 and 6 were a pair, and 7 and 8 were a pair. So when I looked at them, I really compared the pairs against each other because they were trying to learn the same skill. So student 1 and student 2 both learned how to fold laundry, and so I compared them against each other. This study did take place in actually 4 different settings. There was an elementary resource classroom, and so that's just resource special education. Those are going to be your kids that have some inclusion minutes, and that they do spend some time in the regular education setting, sometimes with support, sometimes without support. They just leave the classroom for some of the areas where their disability lies. Middle school functional skills classroom and the high school functional skills classroom are basically the same. Those are going to be your students where they might come and be in general education settings for their specials classes, like their art and their music, their PE, maybe home ec, something like that. But the majority of their academic instruction is going to be provided by a special education teacher in a self-contained setting because their disabilities are so much more significant than those in the resource settings. And then the final setting was the daily living skills classroom of a separate public school. And in that building, we have a classroom that is solely labeled for daily living skills learning because our students need that so much. So there's washers and dryers and kitchens, and there's all this kind of stuff in this classroom, and that is where the instruction for the fourth setting took place. So now let's actually look at the intervention and see what happened. So for this intervention, in each setting, there was a student who received video modeling and a student who received in vivo instruction to teach a new daily living skill. The daily living skills were picked by the teacher. They were picked based on need, so skills that they had not yet acquired, and what they felt like were the most pertinent for them to learn at that point in their educational careers. So both students were learning the same skills in each setting. So the teacher began by collecting baseline data, and they did that by asking the student to perform a skill and recorded the amount of steps correct out of the amount of steps available. So they would have said, okay, can you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And then the student would have to do it, and they would mark down how many steps they did correct versus how many steps were there. And then the teacher implemented the assigned intervention, so either the in vivo instruction or the video modeling instruction. And then after they did that, the teacher collected the data again, and the student performed the skill post-intervention, and they recorded it the same way, the amount of steps correct over the amount of steps available. My data sources were actually data sheets, and these are really similar to what a lot of special education teachers use to collect data. And I have an example right here on the sheet. So I created all of my forms and I sent them out to the teachers with the videos for them to use. The teachers marked it with a plus for correct and a minus for incorrect, or if they were not able to complete the skill independently. For this, I did not include any prompting, any kind of prompting that was used, a verbal prompt, a gestural prompt, a full physical prompt, anything that helped the student accomplish this skill. That was just included as they were not able to do it. So this is where I got my data from. And here are the results of the data. I included the chart. So as you can see, student 1 was at baseline 14%, and post-intervention, so after the in vivo modeling, they were at 57%. So they had a 43% increase of that skill. And student 2 and 3 and so on. I think the biggest one that really got to me was student 2, who was folding laundry and began with 0%. When the teacher said, "Can you fold these towels for me?" they were not able to do any of it. Well, after watching the video and seeing how to fold the towels, they were able to do that skill at 86%. So students who learned a new daily living skill using video modeling had a higher percentage of correct steps post-intervention than students who were taught using in vivo instruction. So in conclusion, this study shows that when teaching daily living skills to students with ASD, using video modeling will help them to acquire the skills at a higher percentage than by in vivo instruction. The implications of this are simple. Schools should begin training teachers who work with students with ASD in video modeling. Video modeling works well for students in inclusion settings by using small screen device so that they don't stand out from their peers. It can be an iPad, it could be an iPod, it could be anything, a Chromebook, something like that could have a video loaded on it to teach them a new skill. And it will also work for the more self-contained settings. My favorite thing about video modeling is that it can be used to teach an entire class as well as to teach individual skills. And it also helps to maintain consistency across staff, because with a lot of our special education students, they don't spend their entire day with just one staff member. They have a general education teacher and a special education teacher, and some have a paraprofessional or an instructional assistant. So it helps to increase that fidelity of consistency when teaching the skills. And I'm going to wrap this up real fast by just telling you my plan for the future. So in the future, I think it would be really beneficial to take this research further and to see if these students are able to retain the skills over multiple sessions. It would also be really beneficial to look into video prompting versus video modeling. And if you want more information on video prompting and video modeling, I'm happy to give that to you. This is just a really short presentation, so I'm happy to help you with any of that. But the literature review that I did showed that video prompting is superior to video modeling. I rejected using video prompting, though, because without using forward chaining, which is teaching one step and making sure the student can complete that step before going to the next step and so forth and so forth. Without using that in the video prompting, the students can become prompt dependent. And prompt dependency is when a student will not complete a task without the prompt before. So if you're teaching a student how to use a visual schedule and you say, check your schedule, you could very well teach the student to only check their schedule when you say check your schedule. That would be a prompt dependency. So the student might look at you and say, teacher, check your schedule. And then because they want you to say check your schedule. So that's an example of prompt dependency. But for future research, it would be really easy to move this research that's been completed into a study to compare standard video modeling to video modeling when paired with forward chaining. So that video prompting style, where they watch a little clip and then they perform the skill, and then another little clip and then they perform the skill. So that is basically a quick overview of my research. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate at all to ask. I really appreciate your time, and thank you very much.